Stephen Mosley.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I would like to speak today about a modern British high street success story. Rare though they are, and despite the obvious challenges facing the retail industry, the proactive approach taken in Chester over the last few years has resulted in resounding success, and I believe that our high street is the epitome of what towns and cities across the country should be aiming to achieve. As many of you will be aware, Chester is a beautiful, historic city with a long history as a market town. But like every other part of the country, we face a threat to our traditional economy through increased competition from internet shopping and from out-of-town retail parks. Yet over the last 3 years, Chester's high street has beaten the recession, and the statistics speak for themselves. As a Portus review highlights, excluding central London, high street footfall has fallen nationally by around 10% in the last 3 years. Yet in Chester, we have seen 3 years of consecutive growth, and our high street vacancy rate is similarly outperforming the rest of the UK. Compared to the rest of the country, Chester is proving to be remarkably resilient. In the foreword to the Portus Review, she speaks of the complex web of interests and stakeholders involved in the health of a high street, noting that many of these parties simply fail to collaborate or compromise for the greater good. And her solution is to put in place a town team to provide vision, strategy and a strong operational management for high streets. Of course I will.
I thank my honourable friend for giving way. Would he agree with me that success and resilience comes about from empowering local people to take the decisions that will affect their local area? And in towns such as Romsey, that's exactly what should happen when there's an out-of-town planning application for a Tesco store.
I can't speak for Romsey, but I can say in Chester that is exactly what we've done. It was identified by the Conservatives when we took over the council in 2007 and resulted in the creation of Chester City Management, a body of local stakeholders independent of the local authority whose sole focus is on bringing footfall to the city. And many of the specific areas that have been highlighted in the Portus Review were identified by Chester City Management as the key to future success. But I would like to focus on one of those areas to showcase how a little ingenuity and flexibility can make a significant difference to footfall. Town centre car parking, as we've heard, is vital to the economy of any city or town centre. Over-expensive car parking or a lack of car parking has just one effect: to discourage people from visiting the town centres and instead encouraging them to travel to out-of-town shopping centres instead. In Chester, we saw year after year of inflation-busting increases in car parking charges. Car parking was treated as a cash cow rather than as a tool to help local business. Taking over as the executive member responsible for car parking on Chester City Council in 2007, I was all too aware of the detrimental effect that limited high-cost parking was having on our high street. Along with the city centre manager, Mr Stephen Wonke, I thought up and launched Chester's Free After 3 scheme, offering free car parking after 3 p.m. each day in 3 of the city's major car parks. The scheme was specifically targeted at local residents to encourage them to visit the town centre after school pickup or after work. Mr Deputy Speaker, unlike the member for Holton who we heard before me, I'm afraid the local Labour Party didn't like it. They claimed that a reduction in car parking income would mean higher council tax and that residents would end up subsidising visitors to the city.
Just to give him a further example on this very point, just this very day, my own council, which we took control of from the Labour Party last May and introduced free car parking, has been criticised by the Labour group for daring to reduce its income from car parking, which, as he said, in our area, as it's done in Chester, has increased footfall quite substantially.
Absolutely. And not just that, they actually complained about the extra cars that were coming into the city too. But despite of Labour's objections, the Free After 3 scheme was launched. It was supported by a huge publicity campaign in the newspapers, adverts on the local radio, backed and funded by local businesses, and it was a huge success, seeing a massive increase in footfall in the city after 3 o'clock. 3 years later, it is still 3 after 3 in Chester, and footfall is now up by 23%. 3 after 3 has been copied in towns and cities across the country, and it has even made its way into the pages of the Porter's Review on page 27 as a model of best practice for others to follow. Mr. Deputy Speaker, in Chester we have worked harder and smarter than most to keep our city and our high street vibrant. It's a credit to the local authority and organisations like Chester City Management that we have been able to beat the national trend. And it just remains for me to extend an open invitation to honourable and right honourable members and people outside this chamber that if you wish to see firsthand a thriving and successful high street, you're all very welcome to come to Chester, put your hands in your pockets, spend your money and enjoy your visit. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Jonathan Reynolds. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and thank you